Hello. How are you? I can't hear you because you're muted. Hold on a minute. Let me unmute you. Let me figure out how to unmute you. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. It's because, how do I do that?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I
Yay.
need to unmute myself.
Okay. I was like, I can't unmute her. What's going on?
Good. How are you?
Good. Happy Monday. You've made it through the weekend.
Oh, it's amazing. Hang on. Now you're too quiet. Hang on.
Oh, okay. Turn me up.
Let me see. Okay, here we go.
We good?
Let's try it now.
Is that better?
That's much better.
Okay, so you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody else will be able to hear us too. This will be in replay, so and it'll be posted on the site, but yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to have you. Ever since I met you that night at the Femme City meeting, it was like, yeah, I need to talk to this lady about her story. And I was very moved by, just the emotion that came across from you talking about your story and how it was so empowering to watch you take on this challenge in your life for your family and turn it into something that has become this big, beautiful sharing and expansion. So I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful of you to say.
No problem. So we're just going to get into it straight away.
Okay.
So I just want to take a moment and welcome anybody and everybody from who's going to be watching this video, and especially the members from the Awaken by Heather membership group. We are small, but we are mighty right now. And the best part about all this is that all of this information that is going down in the first, founders month of things is going to be around for a very long time. I have, a strong feeling that this will become something for people to lean into for many years. And I'm excited to be able to have you as one of our showcase, what shall I call you? Our showcase women of power mentors that I want to share. So with that, welcome, Christina. And thank you so much. And if you want to take a minute here and tell us who you are and a little bit about you. I always start all of my group sessions with everybody with, who are you? What's your power word for tonight? And what's going well in your world?
Love it. Love it. Okay. So my name's Christina Denomme, and I was an educator. So I moved into education, not because I felt moved to do that at the time. I came from, a very challenging upbringing in that I struggled with learning. I struggled academically, and it was always something that sort of held me back, right? It held me back. And, I watched as those limiting scripts that people placed on me and that I placed on myself really sort of constricted me. I felt bigger than what I was able to express.
Mm-hmm.
And having gone through that, in my early 20s, still struggling with learning, still struggling with literacy. I had just finished high school, and I became pregnant with my first child. And that was a very transforming experience for me. I didn't know what I was going to do. The script that I had in my head was the one that I believed that others, and certainly other people, had put this script on me as well. I was this illiterate teen mom that would probably just, be on the system, and her child would probably turn out to be the same. So with that, I knew that I had to make a change. I mean, I'm looking at my little boy, and I'm trying to read him a story, and night after night I couldn't. So I would I would look at the book and I'd go, oh, you know, make up this story based on the pictures that I was looking at. And I just did the best that I could, but it was a struggle. It was a real struggle. And I knew that I had to make a change. I knew that I had to become, I knew that I had to let out that woman inside me, that desire to, knowing that I was bigger, I had to let her out. And that took it definitely took some inner work.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely took some supports, right? I ended up going to what's called the Literacy Guild. I don't believe it's called that anymore.
Okay.
But it was called the Literacy Guild. And I was motivated to learn how to read. So I outgrew their program in about 6 months. And then they had nothing else to send me to. They're like, well, this is it. Well, you know, we don't know what else we have for you. So the next step was college. Mm-hmm. And I had gained enough confidence, just enough confidence at that point to apply for college. So I did. I ended up going to Georgian College in Aurelia, which is where I live now. And I took the ECE program. Now, the reason I took the ECE program, and I'll just backtrack for a second, was because I was doing some guest speaking in high schools between the ages of 19 and 21. Actually, I should say more like 25, because I was doing it a little bit even after that, but really actively doing it between the ages of 19 and 21. And I was speaking about teen pregnancy and sexuality and all that kind of thing, and just empowering young people to become all that they could be, and not giving up on their dreams, and knowing that they, that these are some of the challenges that they're facing, but it doesn't have to be their reality, right? Yeah. So in that, I had a lot of teachers coming to me saying, hey, you know what, you should really be a teacher.
That's awesome.
I thought, oh, okay, you know what? Hey, that makes sense. That actually really does make sense, because, you know, I really wanted to change those scripts that were challenging children. Mm-hmm. I wanted to flip them, turn them inside out, upside down, and not allow those to dictate the way that they live their lives or what they become, right? So I wanted to increase literacy. I was fascinated by the way the child's brain works, the way our brains work, but actually the way the child's brain works. And I thought, well, what better place for me than in a classroom where I can empower children and teach them how to read and, increase literacy. And then we're not dealing with, or these children are not having to deal with being adults that are illiterate. I know what that's like, and it is not a fun world to live in. I as I was when I was in college, I remember actually running into this woman. I was at a smoothie shop, and I feel like this is going on quite long, but it all fits. It all matters. It all matters. Okay. So I was sitting in this, I was in this smoothie shop, and my goodness, this was the most incredible smoothie shop ever. Like, I mean, we're talking booster juice times 20. There was like 100 different flavors on the wall. Mm-hmm. So many different options available, and I couldn't even choose which one, but I would try a different one every time I went in, right? Mm-hmm. And this woman came in, and she wanted a smoothie. So she says to the gentleman at the counter, I would like a smoothie. And he says, well, what kind would you like? And she says, well, I don't know, what kinds do you have? And he says, well, there's tons, they're all on the wall. Clearly he can't name all 100 of them. Yeah. So he looks over at the wall, and her face was just like, I could see the perplexed look on her face. And she says, well, I can't read. And I thought, wow. Yeah. Well, this woman is in her 40s. Mm-hmm. She can't read any of the words on the wall. And the gentleman says, okay, well, do you like strawberry? She says, well, yeah. And he says, well, do you like banana? And she says, well, yeah. And he says, well, I could make you a strawberry banana, which is probably the most commonly, drank smoothie out there on the planet. I mean, there's everybody, I think, and their brother has had a strawberry banana smoothie. And she just missed out on all those flavors. Yeah. Like, she missed out on all that. And I think, man, this is just a smoothie. This is just a smoothie. Yeah. Can you imagine how much she's missing out in life? Yeah. like, it's just, it broke my heart.
Mm-hmm. And this is why I was drawn to you on that first day, because you have such a profound story and your heart just speaks to the world. I mean, you are one that is being called to lead, and lead in a way, you know, that is transformative, right?
Mm-hmm.
I commend you for having the courage to be that young adult and being faced with that circumstance. And I love the fact that you call it the script and you're not naming it. You know, we all have a story, right? And in my coaching business, I work really hard to flip that story, just like you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that it is a script. It is a script that you were dealt at the time whenever you knew nothing better than what that script was. There's no shame in that. There's no blame in that. Although we feel all of those things because of our conditioning, if we can just take a moment to look back and see that person from a long time ago and say, you know what, you did an amazing job. You did so well at keeping me safe to bring me to this point in my life. And you look around your life now and look at what you have. You know, look at what you're sharing. Look what you're teaching. Look what you are bringing to this world with so much compassion and love. So I commend you. Absolutely. You're welcome. Take a breath and keep going.
Well, that is exactly why I got into education. It was because of that. It was because I had a passion for, you know, these people that struggle, these children that struggle, that then turn into adults, yeah. Right? And growing up in the school system, I did not feel supported.
No.
I learned differently than others, and I did not feel that my learning was supported the way that it should have been. And I wanted to make a change in that. So, you know, I did college, I did my ECE, I went to university, and I got to tell you, there was a lot of fear there. Yeah. I definitely, you know, I did graduate on the honors list for college, and then, you know, getting into university kind of, again, gave me that little bit of extra, you know, balls. Yep.
Oh, yes.
University, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I can do this. And of course, I felt completely overwhelmed in the first couple of weeks. And, you know, I just felt that inner voice telling me, all you need to do is show up, right? So I did, and I graduated at the top of my class.
Awesome.
You know, I did my Bachelor of Arts in Science, focused on English. Oh, what a fuck. And then, you know, so, yeah, I got into the school system, mm-hmm. Started working in the classrooms. I was working in childcare centers as well. Yeah. But my work in the schools is what really change what I thought, changed what I wanted to do. It really sort of, I thought that I wanted to be in the classroom until I was in the classroom. Yeah. And I saw what was happening and how there was very little change. And I see how, you know, politics and funding and all of that plays a role in our children's education, and to their detriment, unfortunately. Yes. And I didn't want to be a part of it. I felt like I was like this little fish trying to eat a great big shark. Yeah. And it's not, I felt like I could do more, mm-hmm. from another lens. So I thought, okay, this is still something I want to do. I still want to help children's brains function. I still, you know, want to give them what they need, help them learn. How else can I do that? Mm-hmm. What I noticed when I was looking at children's lunches, and so we have these children who are struggling to learn. And then I could see that correlation between what they were eating and the challenges that they were having. And that was kind of over the years, right? Over the years, I was seeing that over and over and over again. And I was seeing it early on too with my own child, because I didn't always, I was a 19-year-old mom. I was broke. I was feeding them everything beige because that's all I could afford.
Yeah.
So, Kraft dinner and hot dogs and crackers, whatever, right? And
so my childhood.
Exactly. I know that he was actually having struggles with learning and that sort of thing as well, reading, and I knew that his diet was impacting his ability for his brain to function in a way that it could to full potential, right? So I started to change the way that he was eating, and I was noticing some changes, but not enough. He was identified with ADHD and a learning disability. And that was, we saw the challenges all throughout school, but it took a really, really long time to get that identification. And really that identification is just something on paper to say, hey, these are the resources that it needs. Whatever you got to do, parents, as parents, to get your child the supports that they need. If that means that they need to have something on paper that says they're identified. I went through the system without having that, and I didn't get enough of the support. My son went through most of his, schooling without that, and he wasn't getting the support that he needed. So if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, and I'm a huge advocate for that. I know that, again, kudos to you for being able to take your son through that in that form without the supports you needed. I have a background on that side of things as well. And it is there for a reason. We need to use it. I know it feels like it's a lot of work and it's a big loop and that we're labeling. But the fact of the matter is that too many people, too many children, too many parents are suffering in silence, and they are not able to get identified to use the supports that are needed for them to be their best parent they can be, and for your child to flourish in the best way that they can flourish. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. And you know what? There's a lot that you can do after that identification comes. Getting in and speaking to those teachers before they even see your child, right? Finding out who your child's teacher is going to be before they get your kid's file and look at it. And this is my son, this is my daughter, this is who they are before you read your file. This is who they are, right?
Before you label them, I want you.
Yes, exactly. I want you to understand. Yes, this is who they are, and putting a face and putting a story. That child exactly before they have the opportunity to label them. And I know that takes a lot of work on the parent's part. It really does, but it makes all the difference for our kids.
It does. And you know what? We signed up to be parents for a reason, right? That's our goal. That is, I know that sometimes, we become parents before we want to, in our minds become parents, but nothing replaces the fact and the knowing that you have this little person that's put into your arms, and all of a sudden the whole world turns. You're responsible, and you navigate through that. And so why wouldn't you want to find the avenues, the best ways that you can to tell that story of who your child really truly is? So
Absolutely. So that's kind of where I come from in terms of now I'm shifting. Here I am. I have this child who needs a lot of help around learning. We have a lot of repair to do. So I started learning about the gut-brain connection, really digging in and researching how nutrition impacts our brains and how they function. And then I learned, because I too grew up with gut issues all my life. And I thought, oh my goodness, when I started learning about the gut and how it's connected to the brain, and how what we eat impacts, how we think and how we learn, but even how our gut bacteria and how, things like leaky gut and digestion issues, how they actually impact our brains and how they're, wiring and firing and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what I was dealing with as a child. I was dealing with all these challenges, and my gut issues were never addressed because that just wasn't a thing.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're fine. You're fine.
Exactly, right? So I started tackling our gut. And we went to see a naturopath and a nutritionist and gastroenterologist and all that kind of thing. And I started on a gut protocol very slowly with my son. I almost worked in the reverse with him. So instead of starting on this really strict gut protocol type diet, I went, okay, so what's the most simple thing that we can begin to eliminate, and we'll start there.
Yep.
Right? So for us, it was a lot of the processed foods, so like the packaged cookies and things like that. Okay, I didn't throw it all out. What I did was I let it get eaten. Yeah. So, they just sort of slowly finished it. And what I did was I started slipping in healthier options. Yeah. As they started to leave the home, I started to replace them with healthier options. And then eventually they were like whole food. We made them together type options. So things like protein balls and homemade, granola bars, not made with corn syrup. Things like that, right?
Yeah.
And finding alternatives to things like whole store-bought fruit leather, or what do you call them? Fruit roll-ups and things like that.
Fruit to go and fruit roll-ups.
All that kind of stuff, yeah. So just finding those, exactly, finding those alternatives and just so they didn't feel like they were missing anything. And that's the other thing. I say they because I didn't make it just about my son, because what Whole Foods diet is for everybody.
Absolutely.
The ADHD diet is just a Whole Foods diet, and it is good for everybody.
Yeah.
So, if my eldest boy needs it, if I need it, then the rest of them need it too, including my husband. Although it was
that would have been a tough, yeah, that would have been a feat in my house. It's something that, I too have taken on this approach in these last couple of years just because of life circumstances of really changing it. But I knew, the first part of my, the first 20 years of my life was all about going hard and fast and, pick up whatever you could out there and follow whatever diet that you had. And yeah, I would have, success in certain areas, but then I would fall off the track and it would become even worse. And then I had health problems. And so I totally respect the fact that, here you are. And I love that you have this correlation between the gut and your brain. There is such a connection there. And it wasn't until I was really ill that I really got to the bottom of, oh my goodness gracious, this is causing this, is adding to this, and so started to make the subtle shifts. I don't like stripping I've never, if somebody tells me you need to get rid of that, and that all at one time, I'm like, don't tell me what to do. I have that mentality. Right? So I had to play this mind trickery with myself that, like you, if I start to slowly just take away and limit and introduce the new things, eventually my new becomes bigger than my old, and I've woken up and I've transformed. So, not being transformed like as you're, perfect, it's about a way of living. It's that I've transforming my way of living, and I'm doing my best every day to show up in that transformation, whatever that looks like. And if I have a slip, I have a slip. And if I don't have a slip, and I'm a rock star, then awesome, So I love that you were able to really dive in and be able to truly shift your son's diagnosis or, whatever you want to call that, to really have him living his best life in this world that is not at all isolated or protected. It's just, we're all doing this. This is
right.
a normal way of being, right? So that's amazing. And I also love the fact that, you know, for a long time, I know that the gut and the brain are connected, and you just reiterated that with all of your investigation into that. But there's also, on a spiritual side of things, the gut and the brain are totally related. And I found when you were talking about that, I had this little aha moment, because you were saying, you know, what's going in the gut, you know, is not helping the brain, and this is happening in the brain, and this is going on. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I tend to find that individuals and children who are, you know, struggling with ADHD or anxiety or panic or anything like that, it has this soul connection to their gut where your intuition lies. Like this, on a spiritual level, this is the compass of what is safe and what is not. And we're taught from a very young age, whether, you know, we're conditioned by society and our experiences, whether it's good or bad. But if you really look at a child, they are bang on. Their intuition is open and wide. And they're experiencing some of these problems because they're in complete overwhelm of the society that we have created for them and the world that we're living in. So if you can identify that and say, okay, listen, you know what? These are all moving parts to, I need to energetically and spiritually keep him grounded and centered and trusted. And then I need to deal with, you know, the nutrition I'm putting into him, which fires and refires. And then it's all connected and firing together. So it's cool. Thank you for that. Aha, it was great.
Yeah, I love that you share that, right? Because you're really drawing on that holistic aspect of things, right? It's not ever just one thing, right? We have these foundational pieces, right? I honestly, truly believe that that spirituality piece, the nutrition piece, are a couple of those very foundational pieces.
For sure.
That are required to be in working order in order for those other outside things to happen. So, you know, when we're talking about children with learning challenges and needing supports, those supports, so things like the IEP, things like extra reading time, things like, you know, specific sort of, you know, what do you call it now, reading recovery programs and things like that. All of those things are more successful when we have those foundational pieces in place, because these children who are struggling with ADHD, autism, ODD, anxiety, again, right? You're right. Like they're not, they need to be taught, you know, to meditate.
Yes.
Right? Like all of these things are so crucial to their success.
For sure. And they have to be taught that, or maybe it's not that they have to be taught, maybe it's just that they have to know that there are other adults out there that understand where they're coming from, that they understand that they are this conduit of oversensitivity, overstimulation, right? And that we just need to, I mean, for me, I know, you know, if I'm not grounded properly, I can be completely out of whack in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm put into a room or a situation, wow, things can go downhill so quickly. But when I'm honoring that piece, and that's the piece I think that, you know, we in this society, we're struggling to do so much. You know, we're wearing so many hats. We're working twice as much as we used to. We're not involved as we used to. You know, simple electronics and, you know, outside stimulation is what's sometimes the main motivating calming force in the house, you know. And it's just the way the society has gone. I mean, my kids are, you know, 25, 23 and 20, and so I look at the last 20 years and I look at them and think, wow, you guys have a whole new way that you have to adapt to the world now. When I had you, it was this way, and I showed you this way, and we evolved together this way. But now it's just, it blows my mind, the things that we all, as parents and as children, have a role to play in our own lives, and trying to find that balance and those people, that tribe and that connection of people who understand that they don't coddle, but they don't enable, but they lay out a healthy display of what being a sensitive person or a person who's challenged or a person who's just overwhelmed looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and I think that it's great that, we can take a look at that whole picture of wellness, because it is a whole picture of wellness. It's not just that one piece. It's so many pieces all in one.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I know that you were featured in an article about your son. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? And I'm going to actually share that link. I didn't get it from you, but I'm going to get it from you, and I'm going to share it through. So yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I was asked to do a piece or an interview for Alive and Fit magazine, and that was basically some of what you and I have just been speaking about.
Yeah.
Evening. And I talked about how I've been able to sort of shift, transform, transition his diet, our diet, from that sort of processed sort of world that most of us live in, right? That sad diet, standard American diet, and sort of transition to something more whole foods, right? Yeah. So it's not that it looks perfect on this side, right? On the whole food side, the kids. We were just at my pop's trailer, a couple of weeks ago, and they had some fresh cut fries, right? But that's a part of living. That's a part of life. It's available to us, but that's not an every day.
Yes.
So I talk about, the importance of transitioning their diet. In the beginning stages, it was really important to try and move to a point where we were very, very clean for a period of time. So what we know about children, and this is what I shared in the article, what we know about children with ADHD and autism, learning disabilities, ODD, anxiety, typically are more toxic, right? So there's heavy metal toxicity happening. We have a lot of, bad gut bacteria, specifically in our small intestine, that needs to be dealt with. Again, there's toxins on the brain, so trans fats and things like that really have a negative impact on a child with ADHD's brain, and autism as well. There's inflammation on the brain. So, making sure that we had that very, very clean period, and flooding the body with as much plants as possible. So we were doing, and then working externally to detox as well, right? So things like, baking soda and apple cider vinegar baths. And then we tried to do the juicing. It didn't go over well because, therapeutic juices taste like,
they taste like crap.
They taste terrible. And it's a lot of work for mom, right? Like I was feeling taxed, right? It's just, I needed something simple. So we shifted to using concentrated whole food nutrition in powder form. Okay. And then I eventually aligned with that company and that product because it was just so effective in taking us from where we were kind of at this standstill place where we were like, we included all of the omegas, we were whole foods based, we were doing as much as we could, as we possibly could to detoxify. It just wasn't enough because we couldn't get the juicing in. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm still getting those emails from the teacher saying that he's not focused in class. He's still, sitting in his room and he's, seeming depressed. Yeah. Seeming depressed. And as a mom, I can honestly, I could tell that there was something going on there. It wasn't quite right. Mm-hmm. Temperamental, things like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what else can I do? I felt like I had done absolutely everything that I could do. And so, when this product came along and I saw that it was clean and it was whole foods, it was, it was safe, mm-hmm. and my kid got it for free, I was like, woo, okay, let's go. So I did. And wow, that just that was that missing piece of the puzzle, right? We're talking about holistic, and we're talking about all those little pieces that fit together. Well, that was that missing puzzle piece.
Yeah.
Right? Just to kind of get him up to that next level, or that next, stage in transformation. So it was, after a couple of weeks of including that in his diet, I noticed that he was just, his energy was more balanced. He was hanging around the dinner table more after and having conversations, which was very, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then, he seems very insecure in terms of not wanting to have his picture taken and things like that. To get a picture of my son was really, really challenging without him kind of scoffing at me.
Yep.
So it was about 3 or 4 weeks in, and I saw him playing his guitar in his bedroom. And I'm like, man, all I want is a picture, because it was just so beautiful listening to him. He'd been learning how to play guitar. That was another thing that we included, was music. So we started to make sure that he was getting those, those outlets, those artistic outlets in and everything else. Yeah. So there he is playing his guitar in his room, and I went in to go and take a picture. I cracked the door open, and then my youngest son comes up from behind and he yells, "Isaiah!" That's my son's name. "Mom's taking your picture," and does it. And I thought, man, now this is it. I'm not going to get a picture.
Yeah.
So he turns around, he looks at me at the door, and he just flashes me this great big smile while he's playing his guitar. And he for the first time, and I can't even tell you how long, he let me take his picture. And that's when I really knew that things were changing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yes, yes.
So
that company that we're not talking about, but we're going to talk about, is Juice. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're still doing it.
Yes.
You're all still doing it.
Yeah.
And you're doing it as a family, the whole entire. And then you also are a distributor of that as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was interested, and I'm intrigued by, I've done a little, backtracking with the information that you gave me today. So on your website, there's a couple, or on some of the information I was reading today. Number one, when you say kids get it for free, can you explain that a little bit for any parent that's out there, grandparent, aunt, whatever?
Yeah.
How does that work? Because I also noticed that there's a program on the website about becoming it's not a test, but you can sign up for a program where you're, taking the products or using the products, and then you're giving testimonials. And I wanted to know a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay. So we have, it's any parent, grandparent, auntie, uncle, any adult who is taking Juice Plus, they can, what we call, sponsor a child for free. So basically they give us, a name of a child and their birthday, and we representatives each month we put in money to help support the and the company as well. So we supplement a little bit. The company kicks in a huge amount to supplement these children for free. So right now we have 150. I think it's 150,000 families that are receiving. Yeah, 150. Goodness, no. Oh, I'm way off. No, sorry, it's almost 2 million.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, it's almost 2 million. But that's basically how the program works, and that's on the commitment of the company to ensure that children, that families are getting healthy together. Right? We know that parents would probably buy the product for their children, but would they buy it for themselves?
Yeah.
Right? Would they take care of themselves? We as parents often put our health and our needs on the back burner. So
for sure.
You put the oxygen mask on, Mom, Dad, and we'll make sure we take care of your child.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's what it's about.
So that's perfect. So that is the minimum commitment to the parent of, and what does that look like if one was to be doing just an entry level basic, foot in the door for optimal health? What would you recommend, and what would that look like? And is it in Canadian funds?
Yes, it is. So we are in different countries around the world. We're in about 20 different countries around the world. And in Canadian funds, it is 20. It's sorry for an adult, it's $65. That's after tax and shipping.
Okay. Okay.
So basically, we ship in 4 months worth of product. What's going on? Oops, sorry. We ship in 4 months worth of product, and it ships directly to the person's home.
Okay.
And they have it for they can try it for up to 4 months. So basically, we have a 4-month money back guarantee on it. So $65, tax and shipping in, child gets it for free, 4-month money back guarantee. And the reason we ship it for 4 months, there's a number of reasons we ship it for 4 months, or we have them sign up for a 4-month commitment. However, they can leave that commitment at any time, right?
Yeah.
But we know that nutritional therapies take time.
They do.
We know, yes, they take up to 4 months, like definitely 4 months for nutritional therapies to have full effect in the body. We know that the immune system especially takes at least that long to become balanced.
Yeah.
And we know from our studies as well, so like Juice Plus is the most clinically researched health food product on the planet. There's over 38 peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies done on the product. There's 9 that are coming in.
Okay.
And we know based on that it takes, that long for nutritional therapies to take effect. But we also know that in the early days that we see a change, even in moments, right? So we see that, within 20 minutes, it's getting into the bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and all of it, like we know that it's getting in at the small intestine. We also know based on timing of when people are taking that it's actually being absorbed even in the large intestine as well.
Amazing.
Far more absorbable than a supplement, right? When we get that sort of, so that's the difference between Juice Plus and a vitamin. Some people will say, well, I take a multivitamin. And I say, well, that's okay, except that it's synthetic nutrients.
Yeah.
And a lot of products on the market, even if they're labeled food, you'll see, they're filled with some synthetic nutrients as well, right?
Yeah.
Which are not very well recognized by the body, and especially for children who are ADHD and all that and autistic and that sort of thing. You want to make sure that what we're giving them is as whole food as possible, because we want to decrease their toxic load as much as we can. So that's why I chose the product. I chose it because it's whole food based. I chose it for my family because it's vine ripened, right? We know that the most of the nutrients is put into the plant, is in the plant in those last hours before it's ready to fall off. Mm-hmm. We know that most of the nutrients is in the peel, in the seeds, in the core. That's all included in juice. We don't eat that otherwise. Yeah. And it's NSF certified, which means that it's tested clean. Third-party tested clean, which is really, really important, that I know what's on the label is in the bottle and what's in the bottle is on the label. That's not true in a lot of cases. Our Canadian labeling laws are very, very loose, and you don't know what you're getting. You really don't know what you're getting. And in fact, a lot of times that I know that when Health Canada will test products, they'll find heavy metals and things like that in some reputable brands, unfortunately, right? So we know that that's not the case with ours. We are Health Canada approved. And it's a very, very affordable quality product to help bridge those gaps in our nutrition. And listen, hey, we all have gaps. We do.
We all have gaps. And that's the thing, and I like the fact that you truly, we need to start owning the fact that nutrition cannot be changed in a 30-day fad. It cannot be changed in a 15-day magic pill. It cannot be changed. Like, if you're really, truly looking to transform, number one, take a look at what you're eating. Let's get to the bottom of what you're eating, what works for you, what your body is actually processing efficiently and effectively, and what it's not. Then let's take a look at the programming, the script, the story around food that you have. Do you binge? Do you, limit? Do you, there's all kinds of stories. Work on changing that story, and then just make the shift by, committing to an exercise plan, even if it's a 30-minute walk twice a day, and going from there. Any movement is the best movement.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
That's
a
right.
whole package. It's a whole deal. And Rome wasn't built in a day. And life happens and health happens and things can pile up. And too many times we sit and we come from a place of, well, I can't do that. It's going to be too much work. It's going to be too much money. It's going to be too much effort. I'll never get there. So let's stop all of that and let's just take a look at how we can live our best selves on a whole living scale. And I really like the message that you share with the Juice Plus. It's funny because I was introduced to Juice Plus a few years back before I got sick. And I looked at it and to be quite honest with you, I was like, well, again, the oxygen mask, I can't afford to do that. I'm putting kids through school. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I can't afford to do that. Yeah, I think it would be great, but I don't think I can do that. And I put myself last. So I really want to take a look at, what it is that you offer, because in my coaching practice, I'm working with people to really, truly change that and invest that 4-month time in themselves, because it does take time to undo and shift and change. It's not just this, okay, good. So, and that's what society puts on us. Like, that's what we're shown. I think, my story and my cause for a lot of the wellness side of things is that I look at it as a whole picture, and I incorporate all sides of it. But, my story growing up was I did every diet imaginable. I did every exercise that was possible. And yeah, I had great success with it, but I had great failures with it too. And then my script replayed. Oh, well, you weren't really, so I never changed anything until, not long ago when I went, wait a minute. And it wasn't even my own, wait a minute. It was kind of like the universe going, hello, you're not going to go down this road anymore. And so I'm very thankful and I'm very grateful. And I like the fact that we have these companies that are available. They're stepping up to the plate to say, hey, listen, let's take it to the whole life. So if anybody wanted to reach out to you, to talk to you about the programs that you run, because I know you run many different programs, dinners and making healthy choices and all that stuff, they can check out your website at www.christinadenomme.com. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then they purchase or inquire about anything from Juice Plus on there as well?
There is a link where it says Whole Foods products, and they can check it out there. We also do tower gardens as well for people, wanting to grow their own.
They're big now.
Yeah, they are. They're a big deal. They are. I mean, who doesn't want to grow all year round? Really, honestly, like what the price of produce right now.
Oh, broccoli. I mean, I bet you that I spend, somebody said to me the other day, and I can see how come people on limited budgets can only afford to buy the processed stuff, because whole food living is expensive.
Yeah, and they do it on purpose.
It makes me so mad.
They know what's going on, like it's honestly, I could get into a whole other discussion right now, but it's a
chain, it's a cycle.
Yeah, it should not be more expensive. But here's the thing, it is less expensive grams to dollar. So when we look at it grams to dollar, it is less expensive. But when somebody's looking at a pack of, Oreo cookies or whatever, and they're on sale for $1.99 or something like that, it seems less expensive. But let's just think about it for a second. In the long term, not only grams to dollar is Whole Foods less expensive, but when we think about it long term, the expense because of what that's doing to your body, okay, the health expense down the road is far more extreme. And when we think about, using something like Juice Plus or a whole food based, product to help bridge the gaps in our diet, we know that, we know, for instance, Juice Plus, just based on studies, increases our immune system. My kids have not been sick in 15 months. You know what it costs me to have a sick day? Right? Like it costs us as parents to be home with our kids.
100%.
Costs us when we're off sick. it costs us, forget it, even if we're not sick. Now, you know, like I'm living the entrepreneur life, and I know people that are watching probably are too, some of them. And what does it cost me if I show up on a day and I'm not, you know, delivering my best, right? I don't have the energy. I don't have the mindset. I'm maybe a little under the weather. My performance is off. If my performance is off, that's affecting my bottom line. That's a cost to my business.
For sure.
Right? So, you know, we gotta, you know, when we think about it that way, and I'll say that to parents, if your kids are sick, it's going to cost you. Either way, it's going to cost you. So how do you want to spend your dollar?
100%. And
Right?
that's a really good way of looking at it, because you're right. You know, on average, people are losing at least $100 a day if they're out sick, at least, you know, and then all of the medications alone. I mean, you know, have little people in my life that I share time with. And, you know, I watch them every year struggle through the same amount of colds, you know? So, and it's because they're at school, they're, you know, they eat well, they do all those things, but they're just susceptible to so many things. And like you said, when we're not getting all of the whole foods put through to our body and processed the way that it naturally should, because it's, you know, processed out, then we're just, it's a bad cycle. And I look, you know, when I was 20, I was fearless, and I was a mom of, you know, one at that, well, 22 at that point in time. But in my 30s, I had 3 kids, you know, and I was like, yeah, I could do this. I'm going to, you know, be good forever. And it was in my late 30s that the bottom fell out of it, you know, and I realized very quickly how quickly life can turn and shift, and how your health is something that you have to take care of. And if you know, it's on so many levels, not only, you know, food, but stress. Let's reduce the stress. Let's take the time to put ourselves forward first, you know, and practice that self-care, because in essence, we're teaching our children how to self-care in this out of control world. And that's something that they need to learn too. And it goes back to the conversation that we had earlier about all that. So I am so happy that you joined me here tonight. And I know that we'll have many more conversations. Tonight, I want to probably wrap things up with, you know, a word about how you feel about tonight, and just mention to all of our members here that this isn't the last time they're going to talk to you. In 2 weeks' time, we're actually going to come back together again, and we're going to do a live Q&A. So I will start to provocatively ask some questions about, you know, what people are thinking. If you can come up with something that maybe you would like to share, maybe we can come together and share a recipe or something like that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, then we'll do that, and then we'll just do that Q&A session. So I guess my last thing for you tonight is, what's your aha? What's your word? How are you feeling?
About our meeting this evening?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited, and just one word.
Yeah, I know.
Just one. I'm not a one-word kind of gal.
I hope that you have a good time here tonight. So
I'm excited, and honestly, I'm incredibly grateful to have had the opportunity to share. I mean, it's not often that people ask you to share your story, but I just believe there's such power in stories, and we need to share them more often.
We do.
So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, and you know, thank you for being vulnerable enough and to allow me to hold a space for you to speak your story, and just to surrender to share. And you're right, there is such movement and empowerment in sharing our stories. You know, part of I grew up, and I'm sure you did. Most of us have grown up in a world where you don't talk about the things that are really truly real. You keep it quiet, you put your head down, and you go on, right? And there is some merit to that. You know what? It builds tenacity and courage and all those things. But life is so much easier when you have a tribe that you can relate to, that you can look at it and say, well, if she could do that, or he could do that, then I can do this. And, oh, I'm not alone. And wow, I wouldn't have thought about it that way. Because most of the time, whenever we're in our deepest muck of being stuck, it's not because we're truly stuck. It's that we're looking at it through a lens that is just old and we can't see it. And there's a new way of looking at it. And it's when we gather in tribe to tell our stories and be in, I like to equate this to a sacred circle. And that's probably from the Aboriginal side of my upbringing, is that, you know, I've always created a sacred circle for the people in my life to really truly be themselves. And so that's my hope here for Awaken. Thank you for being our very first guest and sharing your story. I'm so excited. There'll be lots more coming, but we're going to connect again in a couple of weeks, and we'll touch in for a Q&A, and have a wonderful night.
Yes, you as well. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Have a great week. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon.
Cheers.
All
Bye.
right, bye.